Sweden and Finland wants to join NATO. I don't know what to say. Have they lost their mind? Have they completely lost their mind? Sweden has been neutral for 200 years. Now Sweden is bored of neutrality and want to throw it all away and throw themselves into a war with Russia by joining NATO. Finland has already fought Russia in the Second World War. Some of our family on the Finnish side in northeastern Finland fought in that war, 1939, Talvisota, the Winter War. Why the hell Finnish people want to throw away all the peace they built after the Second World War and all the country that they built from nothing into a stupid war against Russia that can completely be avoided just by not joining NATO? Is so unbelievable. It's fear and emotion that is driving these decisions. Swedish decision makers are afraid, and they are emotional, and they are making drastic decisions based on fear and based on emotion. So they cannot see clearly. They cannot see reality the way it is, because they are so blinded by fear of Putin and fear of Russia that they can't see clearly. So in their fear, they are making decisions that is causing that which they are afraid of to manifest. They are afraid of a war with Russia, and in that fear they are unaware, because they can't observe themselves, muraqaba, that they are manifesting that war into existence. And that is so sad to see. It's so sad to see. This is the spiritual side. Sweden and Finland are not mindful. They cannot be in the moment, because they are so filled with fear. They are so filled with fear of a war with Russia. So the fear paints a picture in your head that is not true. A demon in your head that is not true. But the fear makes you believe that that demon is real. So the demon that doesn't exist, that your mind has painted, you fight against it with your action. But what you don't understand with this fear, why fear is so problematic, is that that demon didn't exist in the first place. But your fear, and when you act upon that fear, you create that demon in reality. So Sweden and Finland are so afraid of a war with Russia that in their fear, they are acting right now as if they have to defeat Russia, and by doing so, they are actually making a hostile attack on Russia, and then Russia will respond, and then they have that war that they are afraid of. So they are manifesting it with their fear, and that is so sad to see. The Americans are pressuring Sweden and Finland to join NATO, and if they join NATO and there's going to be a war with Russia, which Russia has warned, I'm gonna fucking burn an American flag. I'm gonna burn an American flag, and I'm gonna pray that it is America that gets bombed, because I'm so fucking tired of America using states like Ukraine. And now they want to use Sweden and Finland as some kind of satellite proxy states against Russia. Europe has nothing to win with any confrontation with Russia. European people have nothing to win for that. Sweden has nothing to win. It's Sweden that is going to lose lives. And now their sources say, because Kremlin has said, if Sweden and Finland join NATO, they will respond politically and militarily. We don't know what politically and militarily mean, but what Putin said is that if Ukraine doesn't sign, they will respond military technically. Well, now we know what that means. It means they bombed the shit out of Ukraine, and so many people lost their lives, and took large parts of the south and the east. So military political can very potentially mean something like that. Russia might do something in the Baltic Sea in case they join, take the sea, put a naval blockade, take out the Swedish and Finnish navy. I don't know what they're gonna do. Maybe they go and take the capitals, maybe they go and take islands in the Baltic Sea like Åland and Gotland, and put anti-ballistic missile systems there to create a perimeter between St. Petersburg and so on. And if they get sanctions, maybe Russia blocks the ships from entering Stockholm and Helsinki so that they can starve Sweden and Finland. I don't know what Russia is going to do. But they have to do something. If there are any Swedish and Finnish people watching, there will be. Onko täällä suomalaisia? Täällä tulee olemaan suomalaisia, jotka katsoo tätä. Finns det någon svenska här? Det kommer finnas någon svenska som kollar på det här. Okej, bra. I speak both Swedish and Finnish. Russia will respond if you join NATO. Be certain of that. They will respond militarily. Why? Because they have to. They have to. From their point of view, they have to. Because they have already shown that they are going to war with Ukraine. So they are ready to act militarily. And it was a huge assault on Ukraine. They are doing that because they want to force Ukraine to sign NATO neutrality, no NATO, and Ukraine is going to sign that. They have already sent the draft document to Russia on neutrality, so Russia pulled back its troops around Kiev. No, I don't think that Russia ever planned to invade Kiev, because statistically they had too little troops to do that. They would have to have had 3 or 4 times the amount of troops if they really wanted to conquer and hold the entire Ukraine. They said it's a special operations, special military operation. That's a separate point. Anyway, Russia, Swedish and Finnish people, you have to understand one thing, just one thing. Russia will respond somehow militarily. I don't know what. Will they destroy Sweden and Finland's navy? Will they take islands and put anti-ballistic missile systems, their S-400s, S-500s on Gotland and Åland? I don't know what they're gonna do. But they will do something. Why? Because if they don't do anything, then St. Petersburg is surrounded. Then the war in Ukraine was a big waste of Russian lives, essentially. Because they were willing to go to war to stop NATO expansion in Ukraine. And then if NATO expands in the north around St. Petersburg, which is just as threatening as Ukraine, maybe not as much, but it's almost as threatening, because St. Petersburg is close to all of these countries, and also Kaliningrad. Then Russia is surrounded in the north. They will never allow that. Russia is never going to allow that. They will have to create a perimeter so that there is a space between the Russian side and the NATO side, essentially. So Russia will have to respond. If they don't, then they are allowing NATO to expand to the east, and then the entire war in Ukraine was for nothing. I hope you see this logic from their side. They will have to respond, or they will look extremely weak. And that's what America wants. America wants Russia to look weak, but Russia does not want Russia to look weak. So they will have to respond, and the threshold for responding is lower. Sweden and Finland, svenskar och somalizer, be aware that the Russian troops are now veterans. They are war veterans. They have experience of real, modern, large-scale combat from Ukraine against an enemy, Ukrainians, that have a modern military with similar weapons to the Russians. The US troops don't have this kind of experience. The Americans are fighting in Iraq. Iraq does not have the same ability to defend themselves. In Afghanistan, the Afghanis are tough soldiers, but they don't have the same military equipment. You see? The Americans are not veterans. They are fighting an inferior opponent. Sweden and these kinds of places, they go to Mali, places like that. And African people that cannot defend themselves, they don't have proper weapons. Now the Russians are fighting Ukrainians that have drones and aircrafts and cruise missiles. Not cruise missiles, but they have ballistic missiles. They are ready. The Russian troops are veterans. They are combat ready. They have seen their friends, their pals, their brothers dying in war. They are angry. They are ready for war. Your troops are not ready for war. You are making a very big mistake. You are making a very big mistake. My family, talked to some Finnish family, cannot believe what is happening. My family also in Sweden cannot believe that this actually is happening. That the fear of the politicians and yes, I will say 2 female and 1 prime minister female and a female prime minister in Sweden and Finland. Yeah, the fear-driven, emotional decision making. It's not the time for this during the time of war. Yes, men can also be emotional and fear-driven, but let me just leave it there. And the pressure from the Americans, because America wants to use Sweden and Finland as a satellite state. This is a shame. This is a shame. If this happens, I recommend any Swedish and Finnish to to think about an exit, leaving those places. Assalamu alaikum.